start right now. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be here today. So, I'm going to start presenting my current master's research that is an application of a methodology to annotate and publish open government data. So, the main objective here today is to present some kind of report on what I've been doing and what's still left to do. Okay, so my name is Marcela Pires Stevanovic and I hope you enjoy my presentation today. To give some context, we have that open government data, it's a kind of philosophy and increasingly a set of policies as governments start to apply those principles in their open governments. That promotes transparency, accountability, and value creation by making government data available to all. But how can we represent knowledge in large amounts of data? And that is a very important question to make, because in today's world where we have many data that is becoming available to the people, how can we open the data but not forget about the context? How can we express the semantics of it? So my research problem is put on how can the application of an agile methodology for semantic enrichment and of open government data helps to understand terms and concepts of the parliamentary amendments in Minas Gerais. So we are going to talk about some of the main keywords of that problem so everyone can make clear and we are all on the same page. So for keywords we have four main subjects. The first one is structured data, then we have open government data, ontology, and data annotation. So the first one for structured data, I know it's a little too much information, but the point of this slide is so everyone can understand the same concepts in the same way. So for structured data, we have the table format that has columns and lines. The columns can be classes or properties, and the lines are the individuals. And usually a table, like an Excel table, they have a master key, or as we call in informational science, a primary key. So it's the key for that, so it's one identifier that is the main objective of that table to exist. And when we talk about open government data, as I said, we have some principles that guide the development and the opening of the data sets. So we need the data to be complete. We need the data to be primary as the raw data. It needs to be accessible in many ways. So it needs to be accessible for the people. It needs to be accessible for industries, and it needs to be accessible for everyone. It needs to be up to date, so we cannot talk about open government data with data that is from 2016. We need the data to be processable by machine. So we need to find a way to put that data on the computer, and that computer can process that and understand under the ways that a computer can. And non-discriminatory access, that means no login or password. It needs to be open and accessible. Non-proprietary formats and free licenses. And non-proprietary formats means that we cannot use PDF, we cannot use Excel. We need to use other formats like CSV, that is comma separated values, and other ones. And now, one of the main purposes of my research is to study how an ontology can provide more tools for open government data. So an ontology is a data model or a data modeling tool that can represent a set of concepts and their relationships between them in a domain. A domain is what we call in informational science, it's that the main subject. Subject equals domain. And an ontology is a way to represent information. And it allows inferring new knowledge to that database. This is something that we are going to discuss a little bit more about, but I would like to stress that. Inferring new knowledge. And the data annotation is that it's part of our methodology here in my research, is that we have data dictionaries that express how the data is presented in a data set. So if we have person, the person has age, the person is represented like that. But going further on that, we have the semantic data dictionary that allow us to represent how the relations between that data is on that data set specifically. And that we have implicit and explicit knowledge. The explicit knowledge, as we're going to see further on the slides, the explicit knowledge is something that we already have on the data set. And the implicit knowledge is something that we know exists, but it's not represented on the data set. So now we're going to go really quickly here on the methodology. As I said, we are going to go from the acquisition of data to the process and storage of that knowledge to the analysis, and we hope we can get to the results. And the results usually are not very specific, because when we open data, we hope that people can use it on the decision-making process and that the population can benefit from the transparency. So we're going to start building an ontology. We're going to use the validation of knowledge to do so. So we are going to explore this part with people, and this part of process of processing and storaging knowledge. We're going to use our computers and our technology to do it. And then we're going to have people again to analyze that knowledge that we built. So it's basically this. We validate the knowledge, we create the knowledge, we process it so that machines can read, and then we have the analysis of that volume of data. And now we have, as we're going to apply a methodology, we need a case study to do that. So what we are going to use is the state of Minas Gerais budget that is divided in budget allocations that we call dotação orçamentária, and how the legislative house can participate on that budget allocation. Usually at the very end of that point is what we call indicação or indication. And remembering what I previously said, we have a structured data set. So that is the table that we're going to use to explore the data and to build the ontology and to do the semantic data dictionary. So here we have this table on Excel or CSV that we have a primary key. And the primary key is the number of the indication. And we have some other properties and classes as well, like the type of the indication, the member that is responsible for that indication, who is going to receive the money, how it's going to be spent, and how much money are we talking about. So to make that a little bit more comprehensive to people, we can make an ontology prototype. So it's the first version of the ontology. And to do so, we usually use a competence question. So it's to guide how we're going to use the semantics to explain that data set. So here we have a basic competence question that is going to guide us through the ontology is: what is the indicated value and expense group that each member indicated in a resolution for each city in 2020? So here on the bottom square, we have the value, indicated value, that means something on that previous, on this previous table. So here we have the columns here that have the name. So now we can put that, because this is something that we do as a human being. We can understand that indicated value is the valor of the indicação. We can understand that expense group is something, but we need to show to the computer how it's going to do that. So we can make something like a mind map that is going to be our ontology prototype. So here we have that número de indicação, that is our master key. Everything on that table is connected to it, and we have the type, we have the value, we have the expense group, we have the member, we have the person or someone who is going to receive that money, and we have the city as well. As you can see, everything that is indicated on the question is represented on the ontology prototype. And then we can go further on the methodology and go to the semantic data dictionary. This is going to be very confusing right now, but what I want to do is to show how the implicit and the explicit knowledge is going to be generated by the semantic data dictionary. And remembering what I said about ontologies, the main purpose of the ontology is to represent knowledge, but also infer knowledge. That inferred knowledge is the implicit knowledge on the database. So here we have número de indicação, that we call it an identifier. And we're going to put these two question marks to indicate that is something that is implicit. And we're going to say that that implicit class is going to be indicação. So número de indicação is indicação, and we are expliciting that. Remember, that is a new class that is not in the dataset. And then we can go a little bit further and say tipo de indicação is related to execução da indicação. We can call it whatever we like. And then we're going to explicit that in a class. Again, we have execução de indicação that goes back here, and that is tipo de indicação. So, on that matter, when we go back to that model, we have that número de indicação is going to be indicação, that we're going to call it like that, and we have the type. So this is the relationship that I just showed you here. Because we have that execução da indicação is a type of indication, and indicação is the indicação per se. And this is just to quickly show the power of the SDD, is that we can explicit and implicit knowledge, and that is our output. This output is in a program language that I don't want you to be worried about. But when we talk about our ontology is Freya. It's just a name that we would like to call it. We have that indicação, possui tipo, so it has a type of tipo de indicação. So we can connect those two classes and explicit the knowledge in that way. So when we're going to put that on a dashboard, a business analytics program that can show that to the person that is reading it. So to summarize it, we have here the Excel sheet that is our origin of the data, and then we have the validation of the knowledge that is being made through a focus group from people that understand the domain, that is emendas parlamentares. We have the ontology that is Freya, that we just call it like that so it can have a unique name. We have the templates that are going to be the SDD, and the process and the storage of knowledge is going to be our technology, that it's not our main purpose here. And this is everything that I've already done in my research project. And now the next step is going to do an analytics dashboard, so we can show everything that we've done in a format that it's user-friendly. So in conclusion, the main objective here is to show through a case study the advantages advantages of using ontologies to answer competence questions. And not only that, but we need to complete more cycles to enrich and achieve the reasoning and inferred knowledge that an ontology can provide. So, as I'm going through, I'm almost at the end of my master's period. We are going to achieve that in a couple months, as we've been through most part of the process. But right now, this is what I would what's what I wanted to show to everyone, and I hope you could understand or grasp a little bit of what I'm studying. And I would like to thank everyone and Deborah for giving us the opportunity to train our English, to train what we want to present. And I would like to stress that it was very important to me, as it gave me much empowerment with my research, and how can I present it. It made the difference of the world for me. Okay, thank you.